Sit down, yearbook man.
Kenneth. Sit down, Ken.
Kenneth?
Stop looking at the slut.
You think we can do our intro music like this?
No.
You don't. Why?
Yeah. I think it'd pick up fine.
You think?
You think so?
I guess we'll find out.
What are we talking about today?
All right, welcome to the coach's office. You know my sons love that song.
Well, what's not to love?
That's a good song.
What's really an awkward one is Highway to Hell.
Yeah.
They like that one too.
Grandparents don't like that.
And then when all three of them are singing it together in the back, it's a little strange.
That's
so I have to turn that one off. But
Yeah.
We just went to the Iowa game. They walk out to Back in Black.
I know.
Do they really?
Yes,
It's a good one.
it's like a thing.
It's good.
Like get ready, get ready for Back in Black. They start warning you to get ready for.
Who won that game?
Iowa. It was like
2 touchdowns combined.
15 to 13 or something like that.
Big Ten football,
It
baby.
was just like
Iowa, especially.
Yeah, I was so
it was
boring.
3-2 for a long time.
Oh, you were telling me about that, yeah.
3-2.
Yeah. All right, so welcome to the coach's office. We're gonna do a little season recap. It's kind of funny how I had the grand idea of doing this throughout the season, and then realized that was dumb.
Yeah.
But hopefully next year we can be a little more efficient with it and do it throughout the year. So my goal, I'm not gonna tell you guys what we're talking about beforehand, so it's more
great.
Yeah.
so it's more authentic. I think it'll flow better.
Well, you already said it's a season recap, right?
Yeah, but I have specifics.
Okay.
Specifics. We're gonna talk about our specific lows and highs of the season.
Oh, no.
So we'll start. We should end with highs because we should be on a
that's a good
positive
idea.
thing, right? Okay, so what are some of your lows?
Well, Holt
I wouldn't say
Yeah,
Holt.
Holt sucked.
wasn't great.
See,
Hold all of our losses.
I think Holt's an obvious one, but really, I think
Lows?
Zoom out south just was because
South
of how
was
we
rough.
played.
Yeah.
Yeah, the second half.
And that was a rough night. Like after, I don't know. There were questions afterward about like, are we okay? Like character wise, bad attitudes. Like things kind of fell apart in that second half.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Got a little scary, but then we were able to get back on track. But that night it was like, what's going on?
Yeah, there's a lot of very controllable things that we did wrong in that game.
You know, I felt like we reverted back in terms of our mindset. You know, I was really proud of this senior class of how they were on board. Like, they bought in.
Yep.
There wasn't any character problems, no bad attitudes, people talking back, stuff that we've dealt with in the past didn't really apply. But then after that Zumwalt South game, man, some of those kids started acting up again.
Well, it wasn't even what they were. It wasn't between them and us.
No.
No, that's
It was the
refs.
referees and the
That's
kids
right.
on the other team, and
That's right.
Yeah.
so I think that was South. Even though Holt was very frustrating, just with how we played, and we had high hopes for that game.
To me, that's a big part of why Holt was tough, is because it was the second game of the year, and we came into the year feeling really good about the squad we had, and week one, you know, we played pretty well in the second half against Timberland, and so at least for me going into that Holt game, I was really confident, and I really felt like we had a shot to take them down, and then to get destroyed the way that we did, you know, and it's the kind of thing where you'd think we would learn when this happens year in and year out, but like it always feels worse after the game when you see the final score and when the second half gets out of control. It's really easy to look back at the whole game and feel like it was a disaster, but then you go back and you watch the film and you realize, like, you know, we were in the game almost to halftime. You
Yeah.
know?
We were in the game in the third quarter.
That's right.
It was 21-0 at half.
It didn't get
wow.
it didn't get bad until it got bad,
No.
and then that kind of taints the way you look at the rest of the game. You know,
No.
for me at least, the memory.
It's true.
of it.
I agree with that.
I mean, not to skip ahead, but you know, there's a similar element with our last game of the year with Zumwalt North, where it ended up it ended up not being a close game, but it was really close there for a while. You know, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's 14-7 at half, I think.
I mean, what do you consider? I still consider it a close game.
Yeah, I mean, it's 28-7 was the final
I think
score.
if you're within 3 scores, I mean, I wouldn't say it's out of hand.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's out of hand. I think that when you spend a half an hour of real time knowing that you're losing and not being able to do anything about it and playing like garbage and like that to me is like not feeling like I'm in the game, not feeling like we have a chance to make a run at it. Instead, you know, like the whole fourth quarter, I feel like we know what's about to happen. You know, we know this is the last quarter of the season, and obviously it's not how we wanted to go.
Yeah.
So what were our lows were Holt, Zoom out South, just because of how we played. I mean,
Yeah.
how the game ended, you know, depends on how you look at that game, I guess.
First half was great.
Holt and South, just because Holt,
Yeah.
we played, you know, with the final score, how it ended up being,
Yeah.
and then South with kind of how we acted as a program wasn't enjoyable.
You know, I would throw in, even though we won the game, our game against Zoomball East wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It was kind of similar issues.
To me, and again, not to skip ahead to the last game of the year, but like losing's no fun. But if we lose playing good football, I can live with that.
Yeah.
When you play badly, even when you win, like we did against East, you know, we didn't play good football that night, and that was a really frustrating thing because you know we're capable of doing better. You know, the specific mistakes we're making are things that we haven't made all year, things like that, and you start to be like, what's happening? Like, why is this? So I thought the East game wasn't.
Yeah, it's very similar issues with those two games, and I think it's because we kind of overlooked both of those teams a little bit, and we didn't necessarily respect our opponent how we should.
Mm-hmm.
We thought they weren't very good, and we didn't respect, and we almost lost 2 games because we didn't respect our opponent how we should.
Mm-hmm.
So if those are our lows, what are our highs for you guys?
Timberland and Washington for me, probably.
Yeah, I'll say Washington.
I think those were both games where it's kind of like measuring sticks. Timberland in the beginning of the season, nobody really knows anything in the beginning of the season, you know. We knew the work that we put in. We knew what kind of team that we had, but you got to go out there and prove it. And then I think once we kind of got rolling a bit, we were, 3-1 going into Washington? 3-1 going into Washington, and they were a program that we'd struggled with in the past. The year before was probably our roughest game of the season against them. That was
Well, we just look at the points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last year it was a lot to a little. But no, we installed stuff defensively that our kids executed really well, and we held one of the best running backs in the conference. Held him. And then our offense did whatever they wanted to. So it was kind of the perfect storm for us offensively and defensively, and felt like it proved a lot for us as a program.
So one of mine was Washington. We had a game plan going into that game. It was I would say it's one of those games, a handful of those in my career, I say, where we had a game plan going in and it just was working. Perfect, like exactly how you imagine it and exactly how you envision it working the entire game.
Yeah.
They would make an adjustment, we would adjust the other way, and that would work too. To see your game plan from that entire week work as well as it did pretty much all night.
Yeah.
And the point swing, and I felt that was a good test to us. Washington's a good program; they're a physical team. And with how we played, our physicality, our executing our game plan, that was a really good night. I felt really good about our program after that night. And the second one for me was Troy. I know the game didn't end how we wanted it to. I felt like as a program we did a really good job this year of expecting to beat anybody we played. And I felt like we were pretty confident going into that game that we could. Now, against a really good team, you got to play perfect. But again, we had an offensive game plan that was working for the most part. We were driving all night long. When you have, what do we have, 350 yards to the air that game or something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, we knew that's what we were going to have to do to beat them because they're front four.
Yeah, that's it.
They're four.
Three. They're like 3-1.
Really,
whatever it was.
D-line linebackers are pretty good.
They're
Yeah,
nuts.
3-1,
So we
7.
knew we were going to have to throw the ball to win. But that, and then our defense, I think we let up a touchdown early or 2 touchdowns, and then we battled.
Yeah.
It kind of got tough.
Yeah, I mean, even on that first drive, we had them 3rd and long twice, and it was just a missed assignment here, a missed assignment there. They converted on. Halftime, it was 14-0. So I think they scored in the first 2 drives, and then we got turnover on downs, forced a punt, interception. Like,
I think that
a good
game
half.
got some people's attention. I've heard just from other people, whether it was fans in their stands or whatever, talk about how they were like, oh man, this team's here to play.
Yeah.
They're driving up and down the field and
and that
just
was
not quite finishing out drives. But
I'm sure a lot of those people that come there for their senior night, right?
Yeah,
just kind of expected, here's the team they picked for senior night that they can blow out of the water, and it's not the case.
So I was impressed with how we played that night, and I think a lot of other people were too. And again, it was another example of a game plan, kind of how you envision it, without the couple of mistakes we had, but kind of what you put into place working, and that's kind of always as a coach, whenever you put in the game plan and you work it as hard as we do, to see it actually executed, pretty rewarding thing.
Can I add the North Point game to our
Yeah, that's what I would say for mine.
It was just fun.
I mean, look,
So the very
Speak
end
for
was
yourself.
kind of,
we want to beat North Point
Well,
just about any team.
how it ended was fun. I did not have fun.
It was
personally.
it was an excruciating game, but for the second year in a row, 2 for 2, a game that came down to the wire, and for the second year in a row, we came out on top in a pretty memorable fashion.
Yeah, made the 1 or 2 plays.
Especially this year, we made like 3 plays down the stretch that were not technically Hail Marys, but like
I wanted to.
that was pretty much
4th and 8.
So being
That was just speaking on that game. That was a very pivotal moment because.
Yeah, losing.
Well, we were contemplating because there was like 2 minutes left or something like that. Well, we were contemplating on the headset. Do we punt, stop them and get the ball back, or do we just go for it? And we were just like, let's do it.
Yeah, and I think it was the right decision too. Our defense in the second half was struggling pretty badly,
I think that's
slowing them up.
North Point had a really good year, and they're a good football team, and they're just going to be good again next year. And they did a really good job of making us fight for every yard and taking advantage of every mistake that we made. And their offense is they're always moving forward. They'll gain 3 or 4 yards, and then they'll gain 3 or 4 yards. And I think we were doing a good job of stringing them out, but they have a heck of a quarterback who's making a lot of good plays. And I don't know, I was really proud of the fact that we played a tough game and we came out on top because you have to be really mentally tough.
Maybe that set us up for South, playing a game like that. And
especially, that was a game we were up 2 scores at one point too.
Yeah.
I think both those games, if anyone wants to evaluate our growth as a program, those 2 games are huge indicators as to how much growth and how far we've come. There are years where we don't necessarily pull out those 2 wins. With that close of a game, and that final drive against North Point was probably one of the most epic drives of Liberty football.
Yeah.
Just our execution and the plays we were making. There's and it's every football program, but there's teams in years past where we don't make the plays necessary to go down and get that score.
That's right.
We didn't let the moment or the situation get to us. We were ready for it. And same with South.
Which is very impressive considering how It's a big rivalry.
Yeah.
And especially to the kids, and like without packed, like that was probably the most filled I've ever seen our stadium. And our kids made a ton of plays down the stretch that. So those very impressive.
Those two games really show the growth of our program, I think, over the last couple of years. So I was really proud of. We didn't necessarily play exactly how we wanted to in either of those games, but you can sit back and go, man, I'm so proud of how we kept battling, though.
Mm-hmm. And to me, that's the whole point is to be a great team. You have to be able to win even when you're not playing your best.
Yep, that's true.
That's true.
And obviously, it'd be great if we could go back and blow out North Point, but we didn't. We were the team we were that night.
Well, and they're also a
they're
team that's not going to get.
No,
they're too good to.
So being able to win games when you're not necessarily at your best, or when you have made a couple big mistakes, but you're still in it. Like, to me, that's the next step. It's like we got to be able to win whether we've got our stuff or not.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to the Coach's Office.